Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Tonight's video is going to be about some soul searching I've been doing recently and some course correction that's gone on in my life. And I want to, one of the attempts that I've made with this channel going forward, or even historically, is to make sure I was connecting with you guys in a way that you understood my heart. Also, some observations that I've made of my own life, but also with other people that I've tried to introduce to you on the show. You know, with all things, I think the matter of focus is what's so important. And um, I'll get into a lot of the reasons why I'm having this conversation with you guys tonight, but I think it's important. And for those of you in recovery, please hear me, because I think that this is something that we'll all struggle with, especially as we really try to push forward. And, I definitely have had some struggles over the last several, probably over a year now, with a lot of I would say nothing short of chaos going on in my life, and um, my reaction to how life has been, how I've behaved, to things that have happened around me, what I've allowed to continue in my own head, and then specifically how I'm directing this show and what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So, but we'll get right into it. So, my conviction has been really about what am I doing here? What am I trying to accomplish? And if I'm coming out here with the sole purpose of getting 8 billion subscribers, I don't think I'm really that platform to do that. And there's a lot of things I'm honest with myself about what I give to you guys as an audience. So what is it that we're doing here? What should be the appropriate intention of what I'm trying to accomplish here? And I'll get into more of that. It is a secular channel. My faith is important to me, and it does come out in some of the messaging, but I think that even in some of the ways I've portrayed that has been somewhat confusing. And so we're going to get real specific on the show going forward. This channel is absolutely going to be about recovery and my observations as well as guests. We're not going to change any of the formatting in terms of monthly events and all that other stuff, but I'm really going to kind of zero in on a new way of thinking and trying to provide some hope and light and some action in a world that right now is just lost. Now, my convictions coming out not only from my own observations of my own life, but just the extraordinary amount of people that are coming to me, quote unquote, magically. And I'll explain where that I think came from too. So I've got a lot of concepts, a lot of lanes, I guess, so to speak, that I'm throwing out at you right now, but it's necessary. And I would like to have this conversation to the best of my ability with you. I notice when I start getting sideways, there are physical elements to it. There's absolutely spiritual elements to it, but they manifest themselves in anger, temptation with alcohol, resentment, controlling behavior, procrastination, blah, 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 blah. My triggers have always been controlling behavior, procrastination, and fear. They're like that, this dance that goes in a circle. Those are always my triggers. So when I stay too long in that place, I cause for myself a lot of headaches. Now, if I get myself, because of that, I start focusing on the environment around me, I can easily justify that behavior continuing because I'm focused on what other people need to do to correct their problem. Now, my home is a recovery home. And what does that mean? Well, it means that there are two individuals leading a family that both are in recovery. That has so many dynamics to it that I can't even explain to you. And we're both looking for that place and that time where we are continually doing what we're supposed to be doing in all aspects of our life, and including being good parents and good partners and all that. But I happen to notice that even as I was working on this show, I've got a lot of projects that have been going on. One, I've had a book it took me about 1.5 years to put it together, and it's just basically been sitting for a year for a lot of reasons, a lot of good excuses, and some were real roadblocks. This show has not blown up by any means, but I brought in some pretty prominent guests. You would think that clickbait alone would bring in the show. Well, I think that that's where the crossroads comes in relative to the spiritual component. What am I trying to accomplish here? Really, my life is not about the YouTube channel or the podcast associated with it once a month, or the book, or the speaking engagement for doctors, or peer work in the ED, or my role as a leader within a healthcare company, healthcare distributor, and my willingness to come alongside my people with their mental health needs. All that in and of itself is nothing. The collective of Chris and my purpose, as I've really kind of refortified in my head recently, is about the message. and that one hears it. In that place, I really have lost my way. And so one of the things in this show that I intend to do is to correct that notion that, yes, I want subscribers. Yes, I want the message to go out, but my focus will be on the one that's listening to me right now. That's where it's always worked for me in my life. That's where I came from, It's why I'm standing in front of you. And my conviction was further amplified today as I look back on a podcast interview I did with my friend Scott Fitzgerald, who owns Rockvox Recording Productions, who happens to be the production company behind the monthly events and also was behind another show I did called 100 Proof Living. He has a show called Positive Blatherings, and he interviewed me a few years back. And the Chris that I heard in that interview was the Chris of purpose, somebody that had very clear understanding of where he was headed. At that point, I was really starting to make the turn to get back into my professional career as well. So in the confusion of success, which things have been going successfully, and with my plenty of projects coming on, that I have a lot of resources and mentors around me that were so much larger than I've ever had before, I lost sight of the purpose and what it actually always has been. It was never about entertainment. It was never about me being the guy that everybody wants to know or getting 100,000 subscribers or whatever. Those are all nice things, but it was never about that. And that's where I lost my way. So tonight, what I'm doing is I'm sharing with you where my head has been at and what it is that I intend to do going forward. And I'm asking you to keep me accountable to that. Now, every show is not going to be about like the subject of addiction and whether somebody should use medically assisted treatment or this person fussing or stigma this or those are all things that are all going to come into it. But I am going to have conversations about observations like I have recently on the Michael Bisping and Anthony Smith conversation where they're talking about being a father and the mental health of your child. Those are the things we'll continue to talk about because those are relevant to my life and decisions that I have to make in a day as a person in recovery. Nothing that I've done before this really sets too sideways from anything that we're going to be doing going forward. It's all pretty much in line with what I intend to go forward, but it is about focus and what I intend to accomplish here. And with that, there's more passion behind it for me. I've needed to look at this work as I'm sitting next to you on a park bench on a holiday and you're alone and we're just having a conversation and you're struggling and I might be struggling too. Who knows? But we're fellow travelers. I'm not an expert. I've had observations. I've had a life that I've lived, and I want to share that information with you. But we are fellow travelers, make no question about it. I've had a few things that have happened. So really where I'm in a time of change. I'm in a time of development, I guess you would say, or kind of going a little bit of fire to get rid of some of the pride and misguided focus that I've had up to this point again, where I slipped back into some old thinking. And as I refortify that and I kind of regroup and say, okay, here we go again, let's get things back and roll your shoulders back, time to fight. Some of that stuff had to go through a few check marks. And one of those was falling before God and saying, look, I did it again. I got in the way of your plan. And so I've done exactly that. And so with that, I'm just following what I believe to be my purpose and calling in this life. I had lost that as my focus. It is something I need to be. It's who I am. It's unavoidable. And I shouldn't apologize for it, and I don't. But in the context of the show, it may not have always been apparent. With that work, and as I've reorganized my mind and my daily thinking and how I start the day and how I manage my day and what I do with my thinking throughout the day, I've asked for evidence that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And that evidence has been abundant. And it wasn't just one chance or two chances or three chances. I've had 3 individuals over the last week and a half that are prominent individuals that I have a ton of respect for, that individually, separately, in all their worlds being so far apart, have reached out to me for conversations about things that they're going through. It's not because I'm some great guy. It really isn't. It's just that I've always been open about the fact that I've walked where you've walked, or maybe I haven't, but I might understand it. Let's just figure it out together. That willingness is what keeps me okay to share, to give that keeps me okay while I'm sitting here. And that is something that will continue to be advanced through the channel and through my work personally. This is, in some respects, I'm having this conversation just to say, if you notice some language changes or if you notice how things are going to be going forward, it really is. I want you to know why. It's based on me getting back to the basics, understanding that I'm a person in recovery always. There's no place that even with my career back and other things going on, that if I'm behaving in a way that's very much like I would have in a situation previously when I was in active use, then I'm in trouble. And I think that this show had been evidence of that relative to how I was approaching some of the expectations, not in the content. The content that was coming from the same place. My expectations were misguided compared to what my purpose is. Tonight, I wanted to make sure that I share this with you. And one of the things that was shared with me this week, and I don't want to miss this. I was going to do a whole episode on it, and I really am not sure that that's necessary. I talk an awful lot about hope, and for me, hope has never really been about how good it feels. And I'll tell you, there's a few things about this. I was having a conversation today that really hit home because, when hope, it has to feel good. When I have to have hope as an elixir, it's really not too dissimilar to me seeking a drug to feel good through a problem as well too. Hope can't be euphoria and have it ever be effective, because let's get real. There are days when you should have hope and you feel like crap. You're in the middle of nonsense and somebody is showing you the way out of that nonsense and you don't see it and you feel like garbage, but yet you very much have hope present in your life. I've always maintained, and I've said it right from the beginning, is that hope for me is not always feeling good. It just means I'm never looking over my shoulder again. That's so incredibly true for me. And if you look at the test of time, I've referred to Ernest Shackleton, I've referred to some other things where progress is what's really the hope. It's that I'm on a path that has been time tested or advised to me by somebody else that's tested it with their time. I can look back retrospectively on my own life, hence the show, and say, I've seen these things work in my life, or I've seen these red flags and you should be warned to stay away from them. As I apply them to the new lessons of my life, my hope comes from the fact that I've gone down that road, or I've at least aligned myself with people that have gone down those roads. And I have hope knowing that if I stay the course on the process and the plan that I know works, I'll be okay. And I have a lot of hope in that, even on days when I don't feel so great. That's hope. I heard a statement this week that this country needs hope. And that is true. But we don't. And the statement went on to say that we're desperately trying to find hope. And I wasn't privy to the conversation. I heard it third person, but it sounded like the whole speech was, they were talking about a book or something that was coming out. And it's basically talking about the absence of hope in the country and how desperately we need it. But here's the point that really struck home. Hope is a business plan. That one hit me because it really aligns with what I'm thinking and how I think. There's a process that we go through to make sure that we have measurable action that shows that we're making progress. It doesn't mean we've hit the finish line. It just means we have making progress. So our hope is knowing that we're following this plan and we're not just wandering around wondering if, or hoping that life is going to get better. That's the reason why we do 12-step work. There's a reason why, one of the many reasons why God is important in my life is because to me, that hope is something I find sure. It's absolute to me. It's not I hope that this works out. What I've seen time and time again, and I've seen it again this week, is that I can expect when I'm in that lane that I'll find hope in my situation. And as lost as my mind has been over the last year relative to how I've felt and then some of the despair and self-worth issues that I've gone through, I've found hope almost immediately when I re-engaged exactly what I knew to work in the past. And one of those things was that expectant hope I can find, and by making sure that the spiritual component of my life is aligned with what I've always said it was. I'm going to leave you with one thing here. And I was given as a gift this, it's actually right there, but there's no way in heck that I am going to try to read that to you from there. So Teddy Roosevelt, you may have heard the man in the arena, but I'm going to leave the show with this. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt. That's powerful to me because it is an illustration of why I'm doing this, and why it's important for me to realign my purpose and my calling to the show and what it is that I believe to be true about my life. So I'm going to start now. I am in the arena. I've chosen to be in here. This has not been an easy ride, no matter what the optics look like. I'm going to call on one that might be listening to the show, this episode. And I want you to know with absolute assurance that there's options. They're a lot closer than you think. If you're struggling and you start to see the earmarks of a problem, your fall is closer than you think it is. Lock it in. Lock it in with the principles and the people around you that you know have guided you to better days. If you're somebody that's lost and you're standing outside the arena and you're insulating your own knowledge of your own problem by poking at other people and noticing their faults, how about you step in and get, as Teddy Roosevelt talks about, get in the fight. If you fail, you know you fought valiantly. I definitely co-sign that message. If you're struggling, there is help and hope. If you cannot see any way out of your current situation, I can 100% promise you hope is a lot closer than you think it is. But it's going to require you to take some bold steps. You're going to have to roll your shoulders back and you have to pick a fight with whatever it is that's in your way. And I am almost guaranteeing it's something inside your own head. It's always been that way with me. It has been with me recently. I appreciate you guys being willing to tune in tonight and listen to this. This is an important discussion for me. Hope you get something out of it. I wanted to make sure I put a mark in the line, put a line in the sand. I was a terrible fighter back in the day, absolutely horrific. But I was willing. I joke with my dad all the time, and we kind of get a kick out of it. I may not win any fight, but I'll fight every one of them. I don't know what that is, or it's definitely not honorable. I think I got a screw loose. But this is one of those fights that I think can be won, and I'm definitely in the fight. And I guess in a way, I want to apologize to you guys. I intended to be authentic Chris, but I didn't understand exactly how sideways I had gotten in my own life. And I'm doing everything I possibly can do to make sure that the value that's been pumped into me by other people and by a God that I believe in, I give that to you in the very best I possibly can. And this will be one vehicle. Thank you guys. Till we talk again, please like and subscribe, share, comment if this video has touched you in any way, shape, or form. I'd love to hear that. If you need some support, you can get a hold of me at chrisandretro.com. I'd be more than willing to direct you to some professional help if you're looking for that. I'm definitely not a professional, so I would not want to steer you incorrectly if at all helpful. But between now and then, stay productive. There's hope in progress, and stay out of trouble.